Today I got some scary Reddit stories for you to relax. Let's start from a Donovan to 21 story called My Ex-Wife Can't Accept That We're Divorced. I don't know where else to turn. I've tried having this conversation with her at least 10 times, and every time she acts like she understands. But every night I still find her at the edge of my bed, staring down at me with that same creepy smile on her face. And it sucks, because I really did love her. I thought we were soulmates. But after we got married, it was like something flipped in her. It wasn't puppy love anymore. It was complete and utter control. She started taking advantage of my emotions and twisting my mind in ways that made me question my own sanity and intuition. And what did she do when her mind games didn't work? She threatened to harm herself and made sure that I knew it'd be my fault if she went fully over the edge. There's no other word to describe it besides exhausting. I think the real problems arose when she started hiding my phone. I'd fall asleep with it charging beside me, only to wake up and find that it had disappeared completely. She'd literally watch me search and stress for up to hours at a time. Then, when she saw I was at a breaking point, she'd just put it back on the charger when I wasn't looking and make me feel crazy for not knowing where it was. When I finally confronted her about it, it was right back to the same mind games. It's not my fault you didn't see it. You spend too much time on your phone anyway. I'm the only person you should be talking to. And when I stood firm that she had overstepped a boundary, that's when the tears came. You don't love me. You always think I'm doing something wrong. And her personal favorite. Sometimes you make me wish I was never born. Do you see what I mean by exhausting? And despite everything, I still tried. I tried my absolute damnedest to make things work. Loving her through her emotional outbursts. Holding her when I could tell a war was happening in her head. I tried to be an actual husband. That's the thing, though. I'm still just a man. I can only stomach so much. And after years of trying, I just couldn't do it anymore. I became withdrawn, fighting my own thoughts and instincts in vain. And she noticed. Her antics became unbearable. She started waking me up in the middle of the night with tears in her eyes for absolutely no reason, other than she felt bad for herself. It got to the point where I literally had to start sleeping in the guest room, just to get a full night's rest. I made my mind up that divorce was inevitable when she started watching me while I slept. I'd wake up in the early morning hours to find her standing in the doorway. She'd always be crying, but with that same damn smile on her face. I couldn't even imagine what she was thinking in those instances. And she'd beg, she'd plead with me to come back to bed with her. And on occasion, it worked. I'd give in and spend a night with her, only for that act of kindness to be construed as validation for her actions. I couldn't give in anymore. I had to stand firm. We tried to work through the problems. We tried to make things work. No change occurred. I still remember when I served her the papers, the blank look on her face as she read them over. How dismissive she was of the whole ordeal. You don't mean this. You'll feel better tomorrow. Let's go to bed so I can take your mind off this. I didn't break. I didn't retract. I accepted it, and I needed her to do the same. That whole day, I let her throw her fits. Let her cry, let her threaten, let her do everything she needed to do. I guess, in hindsight, I probably should have stayed at a hotel that night, but she never followed through on any of her threats. I felt safe, until I woke up in the guest bedroom to find her standing in the doorway. She wasn't crying this time, but she still wore that same crooked smile as she watched me, gripping a kitchen knife so hard that it shook in her hand. I couldn't even move. We just locked eyes while I lay paralyzed in my pajamas. She didn't move either, but I think that was because she was going over scenarios in her head. After a long while, she finally at least said something. I love you to death, honey, she smiled, slowly closing the door. Obviously, I didn't sleep much that night, even after locking the door and pushing a dresser in front of it. But despite my rising fear and paranoia, I still followed through with the divorce. I couldn't let fear stand in the way of my peace and happiness. I guess it didn't matter, though. She still won't leave. She doesn't care about law, safety, or security. All she cares about is winning me back. And we still have to live together until one of us is able to move out. I'm not giving up my house, and I think she knows that. All I can do is wait. Wait and hope that she doesn't go over the edge. However, due to the fact that she keeps stepping further and further over the line, I think she may be close to snapping. I think she truly does love me to death. Another story from Playful Lad 9608. My boyfriend has been acting terrified of me since we got back from the Appalachian Trail. I don't know what I did wrong. I need to write this down because I feel like I'm losing my mind. And putting it somewhere outside of my head might help. Dane and I have been together for 4 years. We're the kind of couple that finishes each other's sentences, that has a whole private language of inside jokes and shorthand. I know him better than I know anyone. I say that because I need you to understand that when I tell you something is wrong with him, I'm not being paranoid. I know this man. We got back from a section hike on the Appalachian Trail 11 days ago. We did about 200 miles over 3 weeks, starting in Virginia. It was Dane's idea. He'd always wanted to do a long stretch and I had never done anything longer than a weekend trip. I was nervous. He was so excited he could barely sleep the week before we left. The first 2 weeks were incredible. Hard, but incredible. We fell into a rhythm. We'd hike until late afternoon, set up camp, cook whatever dehydrated thing we'd packed, and lie on top of our sleeping bags talking until one of us fell asleep mid-sentence. I felt closer to him out there than I ever had. No phones, no obligations, just the two of us and the mountain. It was the third week when things started to feel off. I don't know how to explain it except to say that the woods changed. Not visibly, everything looked the same trail, the same trees, but the quality of the air felt different, thicker somehow, like the atmosphere had shifted by a degree you couldn't measure but could feel in your chest. Dane felt it too. He got quieter. He'd always been the one pointing things out. Look at that ridge, look at that bird, but he stopped. He just hiked, eyes forward, jaw set. On the fourth night of that week I woke up in the middle of the night and he wasn't in the tent. I found him standing about 20 feet away at the tree line, just standing there looking into the dark. I called his name and he turned around so fast it startled me. He looked, I don't know, not scared exactly, more like he'd been caught doing something. He said he'd needed to use the bathroom. We went back to the tent. He didn't sleep after that. I could feel him lying awake next to me all night. We finished the hike 2 days later and drove home. I thought once we were back in our apartment with our things and our routines, he'd returned to himself. He hasn't. He flinches when I touch him. Not every time, but enough that I've started hesitating before I reach for him. Last week I came up behind him while he was doing dishes and put my hand on his shoulder. And he made a sound, not a word, just a sound, and stepped away from me. He apologized immediately. Said he was jumpy lately, blamed it on bad sleep. He's not sleeping. I hear him up at all hours, but when I get up to check on him, he always comes back to bed right away, says he's fine, and lies there stiff as a board until I fall asleep. He started locking the bedroom door at night. We share a bedroom. We share a bed. For the past 6 days I've been waking up on the couch with no memory of getting there, and the bedroom door locked from the inside and Dane on the other side of it, claiming he has no idea how I ended up in the living room. He says I must be sleepwalking. He says it gently, the way you say things to someone you're frightened of. I asked him last night to please just tell me what was wrong. I sat across from him at the kitchen table and I asked him to look me in the eye and tell me what I had done. He looked at me for a long time. His jaw worked. I watched him decide something. He said, "You haven't done anything. I've just been in my head since the trail. I'm sorry." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. He let go after less than a second. I went to the bathroom after dinner and stood at the sink for a long time. I looked at myself in the mirror. Normal. Tired. A little thinner than before the hike, but normal. I turned the faucet on and splashed water on my face. When I looked up, I was smiling. I hadn't smiled. I wasn't smiling. But my reflection was just for a second. Just long enough for me to see it wearing an expression I hadn't put there. Wide and still and patient. Then it was just my face again. I told myself it was the lighting, the water in my eyes. But I've been thinking about the third week on the trail. How the air changed. How I have almost no clear memories from those last 2 days of hiking. Just flashes, a strange taste in my mouth. A sound like something large moving parallel to the trail just past where the trees got thick. Waking up outside the tent once with dirt under my fingernails and no explanation. I've been thinking about how Dane stood at the tree line that night. How he looked when he turned around. The sound he made when I touched his shoulder. I've been thinking about the mirror. I've been telling myself I need to ask him what he saw on that trail. What he's been seeing since we got back. But there's another part of me, quiet, patient, underneath that doesn't want him to answer. That part doesn't want him to say it out loud. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I should be scared of what's happening to Dane or scared of something else entirely. I just know that last night I dreamed about the woods, the smell of them, the dark, and when I woke up I was hungry in a way I've never been before. A way I don't have words for. I don't know how to end this post because I don't know what I'm even asking. I guess I just needed someone else to know. I'll update when I can. Our next story is from Mrs. Scare called The Second Plate. The second plate, the folder smelled like leather and printer ink. I flipped it open in the back seat of the Bentley, the dome light casting everything in this sickly yellow glow. Headshots, surveillance shots, handwritten notes. Ethan R., 34, no family. Last seen November 12 outside Bar Marais. The pen they gave me was heavy, gold-plated. I uncapped it and hesitated. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Selection by Dawn, or you're on the menu instead. I laughed, the kind of laugh that's more air than sound. The driver's eyes flicked to me in the rear view. He knew. They all knew. That's the thing about this club. Once you're in, everyone's wearing the same fucking tell. I picked Ethan because his file said he'd stolen from his last employer. Figured that made him a bad person. Figured that mattered. Midnight rolled around again. This time, I sat at the head of the table. The woman in the black dress, her name was Lillian, I learned, leaned over my shoulder to pour the wine. Her perfume was jasmine and something chemical. The chef prefers it aged at least 3 days, she murmured, nodding toward the kitchen. The doors swung open. Plates came out. Not seared this time, braised, with a reduction that looked like balsamic but wasn't. The man with the expensive watch, Richard, hedge funds, a collector of Renaissance torture devices, raised his glass. To our newest connoisseur. I drank. The wine tasted like copper. Later, in the garden, Lillian handed me a Zippo with my initials engraved. For next time, she said. The lighter was warm from her pocket. I flipped it open, closed, open. The flame cast shadows up the hedges, and for a second, I saw faces in the leaves. Richard's voice carried from the terrace. Wait till he finds out we pick the suppliers. I pocketed the lighter. The faces in the hedges blinked. Next one is from Trastia. After surviving a zombie apocalypse, my siblings are acting strange. I'll never forget my first time killing a zombie. 5 years ago, a virus wiped out the population. Dad called it the heaven virus. Once you've been bitten, instead of pain, you experience complete, unbridled euphoria, tiredness, hysteria, giggling, and then you turn. I didn't remember the beginning, only the end, waking up with my siblings. I was 12 years old. Dad said I was knocked out during an evacuation attempt. Our car overturned. Zombies killed Mom. This one was female, still intact, curled into a ball, moaning into filthy, stained jeans. She was my target. Her head snapped up, milky white eyes penetrating right through me. I held the gun with trembling hands. Steady. Dad stood beside me, gently adjusting my grip. Find your trajectory, he hummed in my ear. Bang. The zombie flopped onto the ground with a meaty smack. I barely saw any blood. It was a clean shot, destroying the brain. Nobody's perfect, Dad said. That goes for all of you. Dad raised his voice. Behind me, my siblings stood, bored, as usual. Jay perfected his headshot on the first try. Elena sat cross-legged, a bag of bullets in her lap, dark red hair feathering her eyes. Rowan, the so-called problem child, had his arms folded, head bowed, pretending to be asleep. Rowan was at an almost prestigious level. I blamed Call of Duty. However, I definitely judged past me for insisting on playing Stardew Valley. I was what Dad called a late bloomer. Rowan, Dad snapped. My brother didn't move. Oh, he actually was asleep. You left the safety on, by the way. Jay slid past me on the way upstairs, his words biting. I took a moment to mourn my old life. My Nintendo DS and phone sat on the table, untouched, dead. The kitchen windows were boarded up, both doors triple padlocked. Our living room had been turned into a briefing room that Dad used for recon missions. A coffee-stained map was spread out across the table. In front of me, Rowan and Jay spoke in hushed whispers, their arms wrapped around each other. You okay, man? Jay whispered, his breath shuddering. Rowan nodded feebly. I coughed loudly and both of them jumped. I wasn't expecting them to show vulnerability. Are you okay? I asked, hesitantly. Maybe they were sick. Chills rippled down my spine when Rowan turned visibly pale. My brother was trembling, beads of sweat glistening across his forehead. I knew what it was immediately. Already, I was taking slow steps back. The night before, Rowan left to take out the zombies at the end of our street. When he came back, he had gone straight to his room with Dad. Yeah, Rowan said too quickly, too confidently, his bottom lip trembling. Course. His lips split into a wide smile. He playfully hit me on the back before running into the kitchen. Why don't we go see what's for dinner, huh? Jay followed, glancing at me. I was still frozen. Coming, Mel. Elena zoomed past me and grabbed my hand. They were keeping something from me, and I knew what that something was. Rowan had been bitten. Still, I forced myself to follow. Rowan met my gaze, lips stretching into a grin. He was sweating straight through his shirt. I had zero doubts my brother wasn't experiencing heaven. Hey, Dad! Rowan exclaimed loudly when our father entered, lugging a large bowl of stew. Elena and Jay straightened, smiled, like they were performing. I swallowed thickly. Dad, I managed to choke out. So, how are you doing, Dad? Rowan plunked his elbow on the table, lips pulled into a manic grin. How's zombie hunting? Rowan exploded into giggles, his body unusually limp as he slumped in his seat. Nice work today. Dad smiled. Even you, Mel. Do potatoes have souls? Rowan slurred, frowning down at his plate. Rowan, Dad stood up. I noticed Elena and Jay stiffen. He gently took my brother's wrist and pulled him up. Upstairs, now. Rowan didn't come back down all night. I asked if he was okay, and Dad smiled and said, he's getting better. That was impossible. The heaven virus had no cure. No vaccine. I ran upstairs, but Rowan's room was locked. I picked the lock and found him tied to a chair, a strip of tape over his mouth. His eyes were blown wide, pupils dilated, sweat pouring down his face. I knelt in front of him and he jerked violently. I ripped the tape off. Hey, you're okay? Get the fuck away from me. Rowan, I said softly, tears in my eyes. You're infected. Oh, yeah. His frenzied eyes found mine. Let's talk about Mom. Rowan laughed. You really think this shit is real? Dad drugged me. I'm not infected. I'm high. I didn't go on a recon mission last night. I was trying to escape. He spat in my face. You're delusional, Mel. We shoot bags of sand, and you know that. You killed some homeless woman Dad brought back to maintain the delusion. I slapped him. Hard. His head snapped back. He spat blood. I'm so fucking sorry. You don't want to believe the truth. That Dad shot Mom in front of us and dismembered her. Shut up. I pull out my gun, my hands trembling. I feel like I'm suffocating again, my hands stained, red. So red. So, you want to keep playing The Walking Dead? Rowan spat. Dad's psycho-fucking game. He keeps us prisoners so we don't report him. Stop. I whispered. Mel. Rowan's tone softened. You weren't in a coma. You fell down the stairs. You have head trauma. You've got to stop playing fantasy. His voice broke. For Mom's sake, we can get out. Jay and I are trying to shut up. Jamming the barrel of my gun into his temples, I blew my brother's brains out. No. I smile, tightening my grip on my gun.